What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the MovieDash podcast brought to you by Lawyat.net, a podcast where we review movies, TV series, as well as discuss and debate iron hot topics in the world of cinema. I'm Dashran Yohan, and joining me today to review Charlie's Angels is a film producer and director, Patrick Lim. How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm excited to review this movie with you actually, because I think both of us have very strong feelings about it. Yes. But let's just let me give a quick summary and all that first before we get into it. So Charlie's Angels is basically directed by Elizabeth Banks and stars Kristen, Stewart, Naomi, Ella Balinska, among a couple of others like Elizabeth Banks herself, who plays Bosley, and Patrick Stewart, who plays the original Bosley, who has now retired. So basically, the story, without any spoilers, goes like this. So Bosley, played by Patrick Stewart, has just retired and is replaced by a new Bosley, played by Elizabeth Banks. And when this wide-eyed, naive systems engineer, played by Naomi Scott, decides to blow the whistle on a dangerous, untested piece of tech that her company has just invented, and this is where the Charlie's Angels step in to investigate and stop this weapon from getting into the wrong hands. Would you say that's like a fair summary of the movie?
Yes, but except that there are many Bosleys, right?
Oh yeah, so at the start of the film they introduce many Bosleys. So there's this attempt to world build to show in different countries, in different cities, there's all these different Bosleys and all that. Yeah. So what was your expectation going into the film? Did you like the original too? When I mean original too, I'm talking about the Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore.
Well, I kind of enjoyed the first two early Charlie's Angels. Mm-hmm. It's one of those no-brainer. You just watch it.
Yeah,
you
it's
just
cheesy.
have fun, that's it.
Yeah, and I think that was what I was hoping to get out of this also. Just this cheesy, fun, schlocky summer movie. Yeah. Or if they wanted to reinvent, I'm okay with it. If you wanted to become make it like a Winter Soldier or like a Red Sparrow or whatever. I'm not saying you have to, correct, but if they wanted to, they can. The thing is, they had to pick a tone and stick to it.
Right.
And I think, wouldn't you say that's okay, so what are your overall thoughts about the film? Did you like it or not?
Okay, let me sigh first.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know what movie I went into to watch, okay?
Same here. I don't get it. I think one of our mutual friends at the screening told us that, yesterday he was talking to me and he was saying that, this could potentially be a front runner for a Razzie. I don't know if I would go that far, because there are a couple of things that I like about the movie, but it is pretty bad.
Yeah, it is bad, okay.
Yeah, and so what really, what didn't work about the movie?
I think nearly everything just didn't work.
Okay.
The introduction of the new girl, Ella, is it?
Yes.
She can't act for nuts, okay?
Yeah.
And she cannot fight at all, and she's supposed to be what? MI6?
Yeah, she's supposed to be an ex-MI6 who got recruited by Charlie to be this. Charlie's Angels are basically these super, super secret agents, elite force kind of thing, Okay, so let's go through it step by step. Okay, so what did you think about okay, before we go into the performance, what do you think of the screenplay and the way Elizabeth Banks, because Elizabeth Banks wrote and directed the movie, so what do you think of a screenplay?
Lazily written.
Yeah.
Everything you kind of could have trajected from the beginning what's going to happen at the end.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the character writing didn't quite make sense also. Early in the movie they introduced this character which is basically the boss of this tech company, right? And so there's the manager and then there's the big boss, and how they introduce the character is the manager is this sleazy bad guy, obviously he's one of the villains. And then you have the boss, but the thing is, the way they introduce the boss is there's an interaction between the boss and also Naomi Scott's character, which is the tech specialist. And it seems what they explicitly showcase that the boss is actually a very smart guy, right? And then by the end of the movie, when we see him again, he is so dumb. You wonder what happened to the guy in the opening scene.
That's true.
So like, yeah, how does that like this is how lazy all the characters are written throughout the movie.
True.
Right?
True. I mean, sad to say, even Patrick Stewart's character was kind of like,
yeah,
you know, I mean, you have all these really good actors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that tech boss is Sam
Claflin.
Yeah, Claflin, right? I mean, I thought would have been quite interesting to watch, but at the end, it's just like that, is it?
Yeah, and you mentioned like Patrick Stewart's character, and also like when you hire Patrick Stewart, like you're gonna get something more. He's not gonna be like a cameo and then retire. He could have, but it's not. And like this is the kind of movie where I feel like like throughout the movie there's a lot of red herrings and smoke screens, but it's not the very well thought out.
Correct.
Where like when a twist happens, you're like, oh my god, that is so smart. Why didn't I think of that? And all that.
Correct.
This is just like red herring after red herring. Good guys become bad guys, become good guys, become bad guys, and then there's twists in between all of that. And even the characters in the movie seem very confused.
Yeah. I mean, okay. If let's talk about tonal wise,
Okay.
right? We talk about the first Mission Impossible, right? Where the Jim Phelps character kind of like turned at the end, right?
Yep.
I mean, you understand in terms of the twist and turn of
Yes.
that particular film, and it works within the structure
Yeah.
of the film.
They set
and
it
all.
up properly.
Yeah, you know, I mean, because of that, it has set off multiple films that basically has that type of structures.
Yep.
So when you go into a film like this now, you kind of like know where it's gonna go, right?
Yes.
You know, and it didn't work. You know?
It didn't work because the thing is, right, like, okay, if you don't wanna, like, sometimes, like, when it comes, like you say, when it comes to these kind of films, like, you can sort of predict the plot twist and all, which is fine as long as it's clean and it's impactful within the context of the story.
Correct.
So this one, like, in an effort to throw us off or whatever, but it just felt very lazy. It's just literally, there is so much of nonsensical red herrings that there was one point where like even the characters like sort of tried to discuss with each other on what any of this means. Like even the characters seem legitimately confused in the movie by like who's bad and who's good, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
Like this is just everything falls flat in the movie. So, but what about like, because this is like a lot of people will listen to us like criticizing like the plot twist and all that, and say like it's meant to be like a turn your brain off, like, and summer popcorn flip kind of thing. So, which is fine, but did you a good summer popcorn flick, like I feel like it's so enjoyable that you don't mind the flaws, but this wasn't it?
Okay, can I give you an example? You know the film with Jude Law and that fat lady and Jason Statham, that Spy?
Spy, yeah. It's called Spy, yeah.
I love that film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nonsensical, but it makes sense, the nonsensical stuff in that film.
Right.
Yeah? In this, the nonsense doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah. And I feel that, like, because, like, for example, a movie like Now You See Me, right?
Yes.
So, like, Now You See Me is not a great film. Nobody watches Now You See Me and calls it a masterpiece. But it's the kind where you actually can just, like, sit at the, like, shove popcorn in your face and have a good time, because there's so much energy.
Yes.
And it's really like, for example, like this kind of film, like what do you look forward to, like the heist sequence. So like in all, like Now You See Me and all, there's like they plan, there's the planning stage, and then there's the very over the top but imaginative heist sequence where you're just wondering like how are they going to manipulate and make everybody look like idiots and steal this thing. And then they will like have this big reveal during the heist and like gotcha, we're actually like 10 steps smarter than you. It may not make sense, but at least it's fun. But this one, even the heist sequence, they were just walking around and like just running around. There was nothing imaginative or fun about it.
True. I mean, it's like I just don't understand how come the studio can approve a film like this. Okay.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. I guess it's because Elizabeth Banks did make Pitch Perfect 2, which I'm not like a huge fan of, but but it did get like decent reviews across the board, and it made like a good chunk of money and all. So I guess like, you know, like there's like, okay, why not like give Elizabeth Banks, you know, like I think like Elizabeth Banks has mentioned that she really wanted to make this movie, and so like I think that's the reason they approved it and all, which is okay. But Elizabeth Banks, like at least in this movie, like she didn't showcase any like form of style, or like what does an Elizabeth Banks directed film mean? Like, you know, like there's nothing. And tonally, like if this movie wanted to be like a just over the top, completely cheesy fun movie, it could have worked, even if it's like silly. But it's not like the movies with Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore, they were that. This one is at times very serious, and I think like there's this one scene where both of us, like we were talking about it a little bit when we left the cinema. It's meant to be like a very serious scene where like one of the characters, played by Ella Balinska, she starts crying, and it's supposed to be like this very, you're supposed to feel for the character because it's a very serious scene, and she isn't like her, it's not like just a subtle sadness or what. She's like really bawling her eyes out. But to me it was one of the most awkward moments of performances I've seen all year.
Yeah, that's true.
It just didn't land.
Okay, now you were talking about now you see me, right? And the cast in there, they were all, there's a certain known factors to them, right? Like Woody Harrelson and Jesse Eisenberg
and like even Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo and all that. So for a film with Charlie's Angels to work, the three Charlie's Angels should be special, right? But Ella is not special at all.
Yeah. She was definitely the biggest disappointment. But here's what I will say, like in terms of like positive. So like this movie did not work for me, or as a like I think both of us are in agreement that this movie just didn't work. Like the character writing was weak. There were too many it was such a convoluted screenplay. Too many red herrings that didn't make sense and all that. But one thing that to me, like, okay, two things, or at least two people in the movie like really worked for me is I genuinely enjoyed Kristen Stewart in the movie. Like I thought that like Kristen Stewart, like a lot of people just know her from Twilight, but actually since Twilight she has made a lot of good, I mean she has acted well in a lot of like smaller independent movies and all that. And now she goes back to like a big, I think this is one of her most like in terms of big budget kind of movies in recent memory. The movie didn't work, but I thought like she was very like she had that magnetism about her, you know, she had the charisma, and like I believed her as someone who could, you know, like kick ass, and also that she played this very like nonchalant, like
really
I don't
kooky,
very like kooky and very like she's like purposely trying to be a douchebag, but actually she's a nice person, and like she's like very nonchalant in her approach and all that. And I thought she did a very good job. And I think like even Naomi Scott, like I thought Naomi Scott, like, you know, like in Aladdin, I thought like this is like, Aladdin also wasn't like a great movie or anything, but I thought like Naomi Scott was fantastic in the movie.
Correct.
And I thought like this is definitely a star-making performance. And in Charlie's Angels, she doesn't have like that sort of a presence, but that's not what's asked of her. So here she plays this naive, she's a bit like this bubbly character that is a bit like you know, excited but also scared, because she isn't one of the angels at the start. So like she's just being thrown into this situation, you know, and like caught in the mess and all. And I thought like, you know, like she did a good job in like in a way like putting aside her star presence and being just this believable, naive character. What do you say? Like, what do you think about the performances?
Okay, when the film opened, it was Kristen Stewart, right?
Yes, correct.
That close up of her face, right? And when I look at her, I was like, "Is that Kristen Stewart?"
Okay.
I was like, I was pulled into.
Yeah.
I mean, she's beautiful in that shot. Okay,
she is.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, not bad. I kind of like enjoyed Kristen Stewart, and of course, Naomi Scott was kind of like spot on as this this kind of like naive scientist and all that, right? I mean, I had fun with the two characters.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
fairly saddened.
it really
again.
didn't work. And like, okay, like so like let's talk a little bit about like this the women empowerment angle, because I don't want to because like for example I'm a guy that when a lot of people crapped all over like Ghostbusters 2016 the remake, I actually enjoyed it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was funny,
Yeah.
and I thought like some people thought it was like, oh, why are you like putting like women in this role? And I'm like, just shut up and like stop being a baby. Like, you know, it's like it's okay. Like if you want to like have women Ghostbusters and all, like we need it. We need to balance the scale.
And to tell you the truth, I thought in a way it was much funnier than the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah, like I thought the original was a great product of its time. I wasn't born during that time, so like I watched it later on and stuff. But I enjoyed the 2016 one, and even like Ocean's 8. I think we watched Ocean's 8 together in the cinema, and both of us were like, yeah, this is a fine, enjoyable movie. So like coming from people who who actually like have no problem with this whole angle, who are recasting and putting like women in the role and all, but this one was done in such a on the nose, like bashing you in the head, or like it didn't have any like panache to it, or it didn't have any like subtlety. Like some of the lines were so cringe, like it just didn't, like, it felt like it was more interested in doing that than telling a good story.
Okay, this is how I imagine when Elizabeth Banks went in to pitch for the idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to make Charlie's Angels as women empowerment.
Yeah.
In reaction to the Me Too movement.
Okay.
And then the studio say, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And that's what you get.
Yeah, because like Charlie's Angels already, obviously, it's not like like it was all men and then now it's recast to be women. It has always been women. But the thing is like even like it's not about that, like certain, okay, one thing I'll give credit, like the original, like the one with like Cameron Diaz and all that, like I feel like they were women-centric films that were catered towards like teenage boys in a way, you know, like you have this slow motion male gaze shots and all that, and like one scene like Cameron Diaz is like dancing around in the underwear and all that. Like this movie doesn't have that, so like it's directed by a woman, so it doesn't have all that male gaze shots. These guys are not there just to show their body and all that, and if they do something sexy, it's for like a very character, like Kristen Stewart's opening scene and all that. But a lot of the other things, like for example, like even in the opening scene, they have like certain like misogynistic lines. It's supposed to be comedy, but it's the concept is okay, but it falls very flat. It feels very lame. It feels very like you know, like even 9gag has better jokes, you know, like, and even like the way like the climax, and like I don't consider this a spoiler personally, because like I feel like this has nothing to do with the story. Like the whole idea of making Charlie, like, you know, like that. So like this movie thinks that it's like women, like it's cool. Like his idea of cool is basically showing us a shot of Charlie who is actually a woman, but then talking through a voice like a filter kind of thing that makes her sound. So like all these years you thought Charlie's a man, but actually it's a woman talking through like this voice modulation thing. To me, like there's nothing interesting about that. You know, it's just like, okay, like where can we like just do these kind of things for the sake of doing it?
Right. Okay. Another thing, when we talk about lazy screenwriting, right? That opening scene is basically Drew Barrymore's scene in the early Charlie's Angels film.
Yeah.
Right?
But I guess that one, like where I will like maybe excuse it, or I won't mind it, is because like, you know, you can say that they're trying to start it off with like a nod to the past kind of thing. I thought like the opening scene was okay. I personally had no, like, I can understand why like some people would not like it, but like I thought like that was okay, because it's like mostly just like Kristen Stewart oriented with this one like Asian super rich dude, and they have their back and forth. The lines were not good, but Kristen Stewart was really good. I felt like from being like this.
Correct. I mean, she was good.
Yeah.
But to me, it's kind of like a rip-off of the early Charlie's Angels film. I mean, you are rebooting it, right? So you could have at least go a different route a bit, correct, right?
Yeah. Okay. So like, I mean, like, that's pretty much, I think both of us are in agreement that we do not like this movie at all. We don't hate it outright. Like, at least I don't hate it. Like, I thought there were moments, like some action sequences were okay.
Yeah.
Like, it was enjoyable and all that. It's not like a movie where you know, it's like some of the worst crap like ever put to screen or anything. It's not on that level, you know, but it's still like, it's not good lah. It's really, really not good. Yeah. And yeah, so like, if you know, like, we don't recommend you watching, but if you're interested in watching it, like, you know, if you want to see how it compares, you know, like compared to the Cameron Diaz one and all that, like, go check it out and then let us know what you think.
Yes.
Okay, so that's our thoughts on this on Charlie's Angels. So if you like our podcast, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. So like, just a disclaimer, like, since this is the first episode, you might not be able to find the podcast on Spotify and iTunes immediately, but you should be able to get it within like the first few days. But on top of YouTube, it will be there immediately. So be sure to subscribe to us and let us know what you think. So also, don't forget to follow us on social media. Like, Patrick, where can people find you on social media? Or do you have any projects coming up that you like to shout out?
Project, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on one.
Okay.
I told you about it.
Yeah.
So if everything goes well, I'll be shooting it in February.
Okay. So like, but you're not on social media or anything?
Oh,
right?
social media.
Your Facebook
Instagram
page.
is limpatrick69.
Okay.
Facebook is Patrick Lim.
Okay.
Pat Lim, or Where Story Matters by Pat Genfel.
All right, awesome. Be sure to follow him and also follow me on Dash Talk Movies on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, bye-bye.